So we're thinning the bone today. Hey, welcome back. We are starting to make the nut for Jesse's parlor guitar. And the first thing that I've got to do is I have to thin out this blank. You can buy a really expensive tool that looks like nifty cool gee whiz, but I'm not going to do that because I don't have 90 bucks to spend on that. That's just kind of crazy. So what I've done is I've got a piece of MDF with sandpaper on it, and I just have these two gates, for lack of a better word, that I use. And this one is fixed, this one I can adjust, and so I do this so that when I am sliding this back and forth across the sandpaper, that I'm not rocking it this way or this way and getting an unsquare product, which is something that we don't want. And then once we get it thinned to the amount that we need it to, when we need to lower it down, then we'll just push this gate back in until it contacts the surface, and then we'll go like this. Again, we avoid getting it like this on the edges. And whenever you're working with sanding stuff, remember to wear your personal protective equipment, because I'd like to keep you around for a while. Now, an alternative that you can do is you can just work with one of these pieces of plexi, and when you are sanding it, you can use like your index finger to push it up against the gate. It gives you a little more control over that. Here's what I've done. I've gotten this thinned, I've gotten this shortened. I have made a mark about 1/8 of an inch in from the edge of my fingerboard, and that's where I want the outside strings to lie. I've then used the fancy StewMac string spacing 2L, and I have lined the lines up with the string spacing that I think is going to work on this nut. So now we just have to transfer this over to here, and then we can do a very, very rough, we can do a preliminary slotting, string slots, just to hold them in place, because we've got to work our variables out on this. Now, when you, because you know, around here, I screw stuff up so you don't have to. When you are picking your string spacing, make sure that the string spacing that you have selected actually has enough strings for a guitar, because if you're not paying attention, you could end up with strings more suited for a banjo. Just saying. Okay, 6. All right. And on this ruler, the other thing you want to make sure is that the spacing that you have selected, make sure that you're picking the lines. Okay. Make sure you're picking the lines that are all either further away from the edge or closer to the edge, because if you zigzag back and forth, this no mas bueno is accione de muerto. We have installed the roughed-in nut, and what we're now trying to zero in on is getting the height of this set so that we can then make the final determination to get the height of this set. I don't have any adjustment that I can make on the neck. It's the neck. There's no rod or anything in it, so we're just working with what we got. Now, luckily, our neck is like really flat. So that's good, because when we start to put the string tension on it, we're going to get a little bendy. Not that it's going to matter, because again, slide guitar. There is no radius on this neck, so there is no radius on the bridge saddle, and there is no radius on the nut. We're flat like Oklahoma. So here's what I'm doing. We're going to err. We're always going to err on the high side of things. So right now, I'm going to, my margin of error is like 30 thou, which you can see printed here. You might not be able to see it printed there, but it's there. So what I'm doing to kind of zero in on this is we're pushing down on the string on the first fret. So I've got this 30 thou of action in here, and then we're measuring here at the 12th fret, and what we're getting right now is something ridiculous like 10-30 seconds. You gotta kind of get down here, and then this is 12. Yeah, that's 11 or 12 there. So that's probably not in the realm of acceptability. So now what we do is we take the bridge off, we sand it a bit, we reinstall it, we remeasure it, and that's what we do until we kind of get this where we need to be. And so that's what we're doing. It's very exciting. All right, now we are at the 12th fret on both sides of this. We're at 8/64s. Is that really high? Yeah, that's high. Is that where it's going to stay? No. Baby steps. Now, with the same 30 thou spacer over the first fret, we're going to start pulling the nut down until our strings rest on that. Is it too high? Yes. But we're going to walk it down. We're going to go in like this. And I don't know what the music is that's playing underneath us right now. Let's listen to that for just a second. But that's not what I'm listening to now. If you want to get the vibe that's in the shop when I'm not recording, I'm listening to Second Stage Turbine Blade album by Coheed and Cambria. So if you're into kind of progressive rock stuff, good stuff. Well, here she is. Now, that's just the strings on. We haven't done anything yet. The action is stupid high, but that's what we wanted it to be, so we could walk it down. Now, where's my little measuring thing? Here we go. Let's see how, again, ridiculously high this is. That's 13/64s. That's 13/64s. This is, let's see, what are these? Fender 11-52 custom lights, phosphor bronze. That's what these strings are. That's what Jesse wanted on them. That's what we put. That's what we put on them. If there's a guitar that wants to be worked on, I ask that the people supply me 2 sets of strings that they eventually want on their guitar, because we're going to beat the living snot out of these by loosen them, tighten them, loosen them, tighten them, adjust, adjust, adjust. So 2 pairs, one to do the setup on and get everything squared where it needs to be, and then the other one, then we'll put it on there. So this is on. Now this, we're going to have to do a tiny bit of shaping here. because just the very ends of this, there's just a tiniest bit of gap on the ends here. See, I can do that there, and I can do that there. Just a tiny bit. So we'll put the sandpaper on it, and then we'll do this thing, get that so the whole thing fits down on there. And this is super high, because right now our first string action is, it's right at 8/64s. And again, we haven't touched this nut. This is we haven't done anything with it. So now comes the fun part. Now we start slotting this to get this down. We get this sanded, and that will drop us down a little bit more, but we don't want to go too far because we have to slide. And so yeah, but that's cool. So I don't know how long it's been since this guitar has been playable. I don't think it was bought in playable condition, but it's, well, not a smart guy, but I'm trainable. What I'm doing now is we're working, there's a couple of cracks around the side of this guitar. I've already gone through and I've used a feeler gauge and some sandpaper and cleaned those cracks out, and now I'm just kind of heating this wood up a little bit to give us a little extra open time with our hide glue. And then I'm actually using a syringe to try to get the glue down in there. Then I use a feeler gauge to push it down in there so I make sure it's there. And then we're just using some spool clamps to tighten things up. So it's not terribly exciting stuff, but you know, you want the whole thing to be as solid as it can be. Saved you the tedium of watching me screw this tailpiece in and put on these strings and intonate this guitar, because we've done that before. At least I think we have. So you may notice this bridge is cattywampus. That's because this guitar is intonated now. How it was ever expected to be intonated at that level, actually, I don't think it ever was. So anyways, so then I was having troubles trying to, I'm not a slide guitar player, hell, I'm barely a guitar player. So I made this slide out of a wine bottle, and I'll probably make another disastrous video about that. But it just wasn't sounding right, and then, you know, I finally got to thinking, well, this thing is not flat, which could be a problem. So, you know, my mechanical brain, of course, the next thing that we're thinking of is, of course, the mighty 7/8 inch Craftsman socket. So, you know, I think that'll do. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take some of the tension off the strings. We're going to denote where this bridge is set so that it will be correctly ready to go in case it slips in shipping, which, you know, who knows, shipping. And then hopefully Jesse will make us a video of him actually playing it and being all, you know, cool and because I'm a bass player. I mean, we just exude cool, whereas guitar players, they have to show it off. So there we go. The 1930s, I think it's a harmony. That's up for debate. Slide guitar, what do? We did a whole bunch of stuff. We put the neck back on, we reset the neck, we glued a brace back into position, we closed a bunch of side seams up, we built a new nut for it. I aged the nut a little bit because it's just a bleached white color, and what I used to age it was just a little bit of this old English scratch cover for dark woods. And that was just a rag, and we wiped it on there and we let it sit a little bit, and then we wiped it back off. So we've kind of taken the stark white off of there. It is running Fender 60CL custom lights. And that's 11, 15, let's see so I don't misquote and get skewered. 11, 15, 23, 32, 42, 52 phosphor bronze. Oh, we also extended the nut. I raised the nut on this. Getting old sucks, kids, but it beats the alternative. 4/32 of an inch. You do the math. I'm not doing it. It's early. So anyways, there it is. Sweet. Y'all have a good day. Hey, if you like this episode of RATTLECAN Guitar Restorations, you might want to check this video out as well. Be sure to subscribe to us on YouTube, and if you'd like to help the channel grow, consider stepping over to our Patreon page and giving that a look. Y'all have a good weekend. Cheers.